Happy Friday, everyone. I am here today because I want to talk to you about something that happened to me about 5.5 years ago. It was a winter evening, and I was coming home from a volunteer meeting for my kids' school fundraiser. And I learned through this meeting that if you show up to volunteer, you will be in charge of something. So I accepted the role of managing volunteers, which was no big deal. I'd managed volunteers before, about 500, so it was no problem. So I was on my way home, and the plaza lights had been turned on about a week ago. Just driving, I drove through a second set of green lights, and then all of a sudden, my heart started to beat wildly. My vision became blurry, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna die. And I pulled over to the side of the road, and I quickly dialed 911. And then I waited, and I prayed. I prayed that I wouldn't die. I prayed that the ambulance would get there very soon. It seemed like it took about an hour, but really it was only about 3 minutes, and the ambulance and the paramedics and the fire truck arrived. The fireman came to my door and he said, "What's your name? Are you okay?" I couldn't even answer him. I was just gasping for breath. So the EMT and the paramedic took me to the ambulance. And they took my vitals, they gave me a cup of water, I laid on the gurney, and I just waited for the siren to start squealing and for the ambulance to race away to the hospital. But instead of doing that, the young paramedic, she was about in her 20s, she patted me on the shoulder and she said, "Lady, you're having a panic attack." And I thought, what? She said, "Yes, it's pretty common these days, especially right about now, before Christmas." First of all, I pleaded with her, I said, "Can we just pretend like this never happened?" Because in my mind, I was not only concerned, but I was thinking about the ambulance. I was going to pay for a $500 panic attack because I just walked in the ambulance. But she said, "No, you can't forget about it, and you need to see your doctor in the morning." So I walked away, and I was totally embarrassed and mortified. And I decided that I probably shouldn't be talking about this. But I went to my doctor the next day, and she gave me a Xanax and said, take this and just try to keep calm. Well, I thought, try to keep calm in these days? And I thought, well, my problem really isn't my anxiety so much as a panic attack. And then I looked up the difference. The difference between a panic attack and an anxiety attack is in an anxiety attack, your heart starts to race, it starts to breathe a little more, just like I'm sort of doing right now. But when the stressor is gone, the anxiety attack is finished. It's over, it's done. Well, with the panic attack, it just comes out of nowhere. It's unprovoked, and it's unexpected. So I decided I would start talking a little bit about my panic attack. So I told my sister about it. And right away she said, "This just happened to my best friend." And her best friend has been a nurse for 20 years. She rushed to the ER expecting to be treated for a heart attack. And the doctor said, "Go home, you're having a panic attack. Just, keep cool, keep calm." So I thought, I got to look into this a little bit more. And I discovered a few things. First of all, panic attacks and a panic disorder happens in 5% of our population. And it happens twice as much with women as it does with men. And there are a few things that make panic attacks distinctive. They usually last about 10 minutes. They are, as I said, unprovoked. You can be just not even thinking about anything, and it can happen. And in a panic attack, your sympathetic nervous system kicks in. It's like it really is a fight or flight. But there's really nothing to fight. But your brain, your body doesn't really know that. So you go through this panic attack. And a lot of people do have a panic disorder. That's when you continually have panic attacks. And it sort of becomes cyclical because if you keep having panic attacks, you're almost afraid to go out. So panic attacks can also cause agoraphobia. So people want to stay inside and have their panic attacks indoors. I also learned a very important thing, that medication by itself is not working, does not work. Which was kind of sad to me because when I had that Xanax, it was like, wow, my anxiety was gone. I felt like a brand new person. So I took the Xanax and I ran out of my prescription. I thought, no, I don't think I'm going to renew this. I like this just a little too much. It's just a little too easy to check out on a regular basis. So I thought to myself, how can I prevent a panic attack from happening again? I looked into these situations, and the first thing they say is the things you always hear from your doctor. What's good for your health? Your diet, exercise, make sure you get enough sleep, and also meditative thinking. Just stop and start to meditate. And I tell myself that every day. I'm going to start meditating today. Of course I don't. But those are the things that do help. But for those of you who have never had a panic attack before, I want to give you some advice. The first advice is, if you start to feel these feelings of anxiousness and you can't breathe and you feel like you're going to have a heart attack, dial 911. And if you have a spouse, your spouse will make you do that anyway because you might be having a heart attack. And I don't want you saying, well, Amy Stock said it was an anxiety attack, a panic attack. So, but also if you feel like you're going through a panic attack and you're waiting for the ambulance, or if you had this before, take these steps and remember these words. The first one is A, and that's for accept and acknowledge. Accept that you are having a panic attack. It's okay, you'll get through it. W is for watch and wait. Just take it easy and wait. Watch and see what happens next. Go all the time. And then take action to make yourself more comfortable. If this is through deep breathing, it might be through tensing and releasing your muscles. And then the next step is repeat. Repeat acceptance, waiting, ways to calm yourself down, breathing, positive self-talk, and then end. Your panic attack will come to an end in about 10 minutes. So in conclusion, I feel very lucky because I haven't had a panic attack in 5.5 years. I hope that it won't happen again. But if this does happen to you or your spouse, I want you to try to remember my words. Aware and keep cool. And don't panic.